What if the first hour of your day is quietly deciding the course of your entire life? Every morning, before you speak a word or check your phone, a decision is being made. Will you lead your day, or be led by it? These 10 Stoic habits are the blueprint for choosing the former. Most people wake up and immediately give their power away. To noise, to urgency, to distraction. But the Stoics knew a different path. One built not on speed, but on stillness, not on noise, but on intentional motion. This routine isn't about doing more, it's about becoming more. If you could master just the first 60 minutes of your day, everything else could change. From how you breathe, to how you move, to how you think, your morning is your greatest leverage point. And these 10 habits will help you transform it into your most powerful hour. In today's world, mornings have lost their power. For many people, the day begins not with intention, but with interruption. The alarm rings, the phone lights up, emails pour in, notifications demand attention, and before we've even stood up, we've already surrendered, mentally pulled into the chaos of the world before we've checked in with ourselves. We're rushing out the door, reacting instead of reflecting, distracted instead of directed. But what if your morning could become your foundation instead of your frustration? What if the first 60 minutes of your day weren't a race, but a ritual? A sacred, protected time to build your clarity, ground your mind, and set your soul on fire, before the rest of the world even wakes up? The Stoics believed this deeply. To them, the morning wasn't just a time of day, it was an opportunity. A chance to prepare not just for tasks, but for life. A time to sharpen one's thinking, calm the emotions, set intentions, and remember what really matters, before the noise of the world tries to make you forget. The modern morning crisis. The modern lifestyle has turned mornings into a battlefield. Most people stumble into their day feeling overwhelmed, overstimulated, and undercentered. Instead of designing the morning with care, we let it be hijacked by urgency. We check messages, scroll endlessly, drink caffeine to catch up with our own stress, and by 9 a.m., we've already lost touch with ourselves. But here's the truth. How you begin your day shapes how you live your day. And how you live your days, that's how you live your life. The Stoic way to begin. The great Stoic thinkers, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they didn't wake up and dive into distraction. They woke up and returned to principle. They reminded themselves of who they were, what they stood for, and how they wanted to respond to the day ahead. They understood that if you want to live with integrity, purpose, and resilience, you have to begin with clarity. You have to prime your mind before the world pressures it. And you have to remember, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Discipline plus direction equals freedom. Contrary to popular belief, freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you feel like. Freedom comes from building habits that serve you, not enslave you, and that begins each morning, with the first decisions you make. Do you hit snooze, or rise with purpose? Do you reach for your phone, or reach inward first? Do you drift into the day, or define it? Successful people don't leave their mornings to chance. They treat their routines like rituals. They know that morning discipline leads to daily clarity, and daily clarity leads to long-term mastery. And Stoicism offers the perfect structure for this. The morning as a mental workshop. Think of your mind like a forge. The morning is when the metal is hottest, when your thoughts are most moldable. Your focus is sharpest, and your energy hasn't yet been scattered. This is the time to shape your mindset, to reset, to train your spirit before life tests it. A Stoic morning isn't about doing more. It's about becoming more. It's about starting the day from the inside out. Instead of consuming, you reflect. Instead of reacting, you prepare. Instead of rushing, you realign. This is how you step into your day with strength, with grace, with conviction. Why it all begins with morning. Let's be real, life is unpredictable. You don't know what challenges the day will bring. But if you've begun your day with purpose, you are ready. You've centered your thoughts. You've strengthened your focus. You've set a tone of calm discipline instead of chaos. That power stays with you, not just for an hour, but throughout the entire day. You start making better decisions. You react less. You create more. You handle stress with clarity. You treat others with intention. And most of all, you stay anchored in who you are, not who the world pressures you to be. Reclaim your mornings. Reclaim your life. You don't need to wake up at 4 a.m. You don't need a perfect 12-step routine. What you do need is awareness, intention, and commitment. You need to remember, the way you begin is the way you continue. Your morning is the foundation of your personal power. And that foundation can either be built on distraction or discipline. Today, you have a choice. Will your morning belong to everyone else's priorities? Or will it belong to you, your purpose, your values, your Stoic mindset? We'll explore 10 powerful Stoic-inspired morning habits, each one simple, practical, and proven to help you start your day with clarity, control, and character. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you were always meant to be, before the world tried to distract you. 1. Wake up early and without distractions. There is something sacred about waking up before the world does. In that quiet hour, before the emails flood in, before the traffic starts humming, before the demands of the day stack up, you have something rare in today's world: peace. And in that peace lies power. Waking up early isn't just about discipline. It's about creating space, mental, emotional, and spiritual space, for clarity to rise before chaos creeps in. Because how you start your day determines how you carry it. The power of an early start. When you wake up early, you reclaim your time. You begin your day with intention instead of reaction. You move from being constantly interrupted to becoming consciously prepared. From chasing time to commanding it. You're not rushing. You're not reacting. You're present. You're alert. You're in control. Marcus Aurelius, writing nearly 2,000 years ago, reminded himself in Meditations. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. The Stoics understood that life begins the moment you choose to begin it, not when the world demands your attention. Avoid the digital trap. Don't reach for the phone. Let's be honest. What's the first thing most people do when they open their eyes? They reach for their phones. Before a single conscious thought is formed, the mind is already pulled into scrolling, swiping, reacting to news, messages, social media, other people's priorities. In that instant, you give away your sovereignty. You allow the outside world to dictate your inner state before you've even said, "Good morning," to yourself. And this is exactly what the Stoics warned against. Living in reaction rather than response. Living from the outside in, instead of from the inside out. So here's a challenge. Don't check your phone for the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking up. Instead, breathe. Sit in silence. Drink water. Observe your thoughts. Journal, reflect, or stretch. Allow your mind to wake up slowly, not with anxiety but with awareness. This moment, untouched by distraction, is where clarity is born. Create space for clear thinking. Waking up early isn't just about getting a head start on your to-do list. It's about giving yourself space to think clearly and deliberately, before noise and obligations cloud your mind. Early mornings are when your brain is most quiet. Your subconscious is closest to the surface. And in that calm, you can actually hear yourself. This is the perfect time to ask powerful questions. Reconnect with your values. Remember your goals. Prime your mindset for what's ahead. It's during these early minutes that you lay the foundation for a thoughtful, focused, and stoic day, not one driven by emotion, but by reason. Why early rising reflects Stoic control. The Stoics placed great value on self-command, the ability to lead oneself. Not be led by impulse or external distractions. And waking up early is one of the simplest, most accessible ways to practice this. You're not rising early for the sake of it. You're rising early to train mastery over your body, your time, and your thoughts. You're reminding yourself, I don't wait for the world to shake me awake. I rise with intention, before the world tries to shake me apart. In a society that glorifies sleeping in and checking out, choosing to rise early is an act of quiet rebellion, one that empowers your mind and sharpens your purpose. The ripple effect of a distraction-free morning. What you do in the first hour of your day echoes throughout the rest. If you begin in chaos, distraction, and reaction, those patterns follow you. Your attention is scattered, your emotions are fragile, your decisions become defensive rather than deliberate. But if you begin your day with clarity, calm, and focus, you carry that presence into every meeting, every task, every interaction. The small act of rising early and avoiding distractions creates a ripple effect of discipline. You say no to what drains you. Stay focused on what matters. Show up in alignment with your highest self. This is what the Stoics called living with intention. Build a ritual, not just a routine. The goal isn't to follow a rigid system just because it's trendy. The goal is to create a sacred space, something meaningful that centers you before the day begins. Waking up early gives you time for a personal ritual. Read a passage of philosophy. Write down your goals. Move your body. Reflect on yesterday. Prepare your attitude, not just your agenda. It's not about being productive. It's about being present. Your morning becomes a ritual of mental alignment, not just an hour on the clock. Start small, stay consistent. You don't need to overhaul your entire schedule overnight. Start by waking up just 15 minutes earlier. Delay checking your phone. Use that time to breathe, reflect, or journal. Build from there. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to build momentum. Because when you master your morning, you begin to master your life, not with force, but with focus. So tomorrow, when your alarm goes off, pause, take a breath, and remind yourself, this is my time. My clarity begins now. The world can wait. You are not rising early for the sake of productivity. You are rising early for presence, for power, for peace. And in doing so, you take the first bold step toward a stoic, centered, and unstoppable day. 2. Reflect before you consume. We live in a world obsessed with consumption. From the moment we wake up, we are surrounded, bombarded, by information. News headlines, social media updates, messages, notifications, voices telling us what to think, what to fear, what to want, what to chase. Before our feet even touch the floor, our minds have already been hijacked, flooded with stimuli that shape our mood, our focus, and our inner dialogue for the rest of the day. But what if you flipped the script? What if, instead of letting the world speak first, you did? What if you gave yourself space to reflect before you consumed? This is not just a productivity hack. It's a mindset reset, a stoic practice, a radical return to yourself, before handing your attention over to everything and everyone else. From reactive to reflective. Modern life trains us to be reactive. Scroll, click, respond, swipe. We absorb content before we form original thought. We react to updates before we define our own values. We become passive participants in our own lives. But the Stoics taught the opposite. They trained the mind not to follow, but to lead. Not to react, but to reflect. Not to consume, but to create clarity within. Marcus Aurelius, in his private writings, reminded himself daily of what truly matters, not based on what others thought, but based on what his soul knew to be true. That's what morning reflection gives you. Space to return to your inner compass before the world distorts your direction. Why reflection must come first. Imagine waking up and immediately letting hundreds of opinions, images, and noises flood your consciousness. That's what happens when you reach for your phone or dive into digital input first thing. But when you reflect first, you set the tone for the day from within. Identify what's important before the noise tells you what's urgent. Reclaim your mental clarity and choose your focus instead of surrendering it. This is why so many Stoics, ancient and modern, begin their day with journaling. Journaling isn't about being a writer. It's about being a witness to your own thoughts. It allows you to filter your mind before filling it, to acknowledge emotions without being ruled by them, to check in with your values before external demands cloud them. A morning journaling practice, Stoic inspired. Here's a simple yet powerful morning routine. 1. Ask yourself, oh, what kind of person do I want to be today? Oh, what challenges might I face? Oh, how can I respond with wisdom, not emotion? 2. Reflect on a quote or idea. Choose a Stoic quote, a principle, or a word to guide your thoughts. For example, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Marcus Aurelius. 3. Write your intention. Be specific. Instead of, be better. Say, today, I will practice patience during my meeting. Or, I will not check my phone until after my deep work. 4. Release mental clutter. Write whatever is lingering, anxiety, doubt, frustration, and release it onto the page before it follows you into your day. This simple process, 10 to 15 minutes, isn't just journaling. It's a Stoic recalibration, a mental alignment with your highest self. Clarity before consumption. Here's the danger of skipping reflection. You begin your day based on someone else's agenda. Their problems become your stress. Their opinions become your inner critic. Their pace becomes your panic. But when you reflect first, you define your own direction. You become the author of your mindset, not the reader of someone else's feed. You lead your emotions instead of letting headlines or tweets dictate them. The Stoics believed that inner clarity was the foundation of outer strength. And you cannot build clarity on a foundation of noise. Reflection is preparation. Stoic reflection is not passive, it's preparation. Think of it like sharpening your sword before battle. You don't know what the day will bring, but you do know that challenge is coming. Through reflection, you're not wishing for ease, you're preparing for impact. You ask, where might I be tested today? Who might trigger me, and how will I respond? What virtues, patience, courage, temperance, do I want to embody? This mindset is armor, and it's forged in silence, not in scrolling. Start small, grow deep. If reflection feels unfamiliar or intimidating, start simple. Before anything else in the morning, sit with your coffee or water. Keep your phone out of reach. Ask one question. What matters most today, and how will I stay grounded in it? Let that question guide you, not just for 5 minutes, but for the whole day. And with consistency, this practice becomes transformational. You'll start noticing less reactivity, more wisdom. Less anxiety, more clarity. Less noise, more depth. Don't just wake up, rise with intention. The truth is, your mind is most vulnerable in the first moments after waking. It's soft clay, ready to be shaped. The question is, will you shape it, or let the world do it for you? Reflection is how you take the wheel. It's how you rise not just physically but mentally. It's how you become fully present before the day pulls you in 100 directions. When you reflect before you consume, you're telling yourself, my attention is mine, my thoughts are mine, my direction is mine. That's Stoic living, that's self-mastery. So tomorrow morning, before the noise, before the news, before the demands, pause, breathe, reflect. Ask yourself what matters. Write it down. Own it. Then, and only then, step into your day. Because once your mind is aligned, nothing outside of you can shake it. 3. Read something that grounds you. What you feed your mind in the first hour of the day can shape how you think, act, and feel for the next 23. And yet, most people begin their mornings not with wisdom, but with noise. They wake up and immediately dive into news headlines, random notifications, or social media feeds, and by the time they finish their coffee, they've already absorbed anxiety, drama, and comparison, without even realizing it. But here's the Stoic alternative. Start your day with truth, with philosophy, with insight. Read something that centers you, something that reminds you of who you are, what matters, and how you want to live. Because the mind, especially in the early hours, is fertile soil, and what you plant first will take root the deepest. Feed your mind before the world does. Imagine your mind as a quiet, still lake in the early morning. The first pebble you drop into it, whether a powerful quote or a meaningless headline, will ripple outward, shaping your mood, your thoughts, and even your choices for the day. So why not drop something meaningful? A passage from Marcus Aurelius. A page from Epictetus or Seneca. A paragraph from a book that aligns with your values. A sentence that speaks directly to your soul. Reading something grounding is not about volume. It's not about plowing through chapters. It's about depth, not distance. Sometimes, one line is enough to set the tone for your entire day. Meditations, timeless morning fuel. If you're looking for where to begin, there's no better companion than Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. This wasn't written for an audience. It wasn't polished for publication. It was a private journal, a raw, honest conversation between a Stoic philosopher and himself. And that's what makes it so powerful. When you open Meditations in the morning, you're entering into a quiet dialogue with wisdom. You're invited to reflect on themes like self-discipline, mortality, emotional control, the importance of virtue over fame, the shortness of life and the power of the present moment. For example, read this line before stepping into your day. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Suddenly, your morning coffee doesn't feel so ordinary. Suddenly, the traffic jam, the stressful email, the minor annoyances, they shrink in comparison to the enormity of what's at stake: your time, your attention, your integrity. This kind of reading doesn't just inform you, it transforms you. Read what aligns with your values. You don't have to limit yourself to classical Stoicism. The key is to read content that reflects clarity, wisdom, and intention. Ask yourself, does this make me better, or just busier? Does this elevate my thinking, or agitate my nervous system? Does this challenge me to grow, or distract me from discomfort? Great morning reading options might include daily Stoic devotionals, a page of Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, a short piece from James Clear, Ryan Holiday, or Cal Newport. Sacred texts. If spiritual grounding is part of your path, anything that reminds you to rise above impulse and live with character. What matters is not the author, but the anchor it provides. Why morning reading is different. There's something special about what you read in the morning. It's not the same as reading at lunch or before bed. Why? Because your mind is most impressionable during the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking. Your mental defenses are down. Your emotional sensitivity is up. Your subconscious is still active from sleep. Which means, this is the perfect time to install powerful ideas that will guide your reactions later in the day. When someone cuts you off in traffic, that quote about patience will echo in your mind. When frustration arises, that page about emotional restraint will whisper back to you. When you're tempted to procrastinate, that Stoic reminder about discipline will return. You're not just reading, you're arming yourself with virtue, clarity, and inner direction. Make it a ritual, not a task. This practice doesn't need to take hours. In fact, just 5 minutes of focused reading can be more powerful than 30 minutes of distracted scrolling. Here's how to turn it into a ritual. 1. Designate a space. Have a specific corner, chair, or table where you go to read. No screens. No distractions. 2. Keep your chosen book or material nearby. Remove the friction of looking for something. Prepare it the night before if needed. 3. Start with a short intention. Before opening the page, take a breath and say, I'm reading to become wiser, not just informed. 4. Read slowly. Highlight, underline, or jot down what stands out. 5. Reflect briefly. Ask, how can I apply this today? That one question can bridge the gap between theory and transformation. When done consistently, this small act becomes a pillar of your morning, not because it's impressive, but because it's foundational. Repetition builds wisdom. Don't worry about reading something new every day. Sometimes, it's the repetition of a single principle that creates the deepest change. The Stoics didn't read to be entertained. They read to be reminded of what they already knew, but had forgotten in the whirlwind of daily life. And you'll find that the more often you revisit certain passages, the more they evolve with you. The meaning deepens, the application sharpens, the words become part of your internal language. And slowly, you begin to live them, not just recite them. Reading that grounds you is reading that guides you. The goal here isn't knowledge, it's navigation. You're not just feeding your intellect. You're aligning your inner compass. You're preparing your mind to move through the day with strength, calm, and wisdom. When you read something grounding in the morning, you don't just start your day. You center it. You start thinking before the world tells you what to think. You root yourself in values before being pulled into emotion. You remind yourself of your power before distraction makes you forget. So tomorrow morning, ask yourself, before I pick up the phone, before I open my inbox, can I take just 5 minutes to feed my mind with something timeless? Because that one choice could change how you speak, how you lead, how you live, for the rest of the day. Read something that grounds you. Not to escape the world, but to stand stronger within it. 4. Control your breathing. Before you speak, before you move, before your day even truly begins, just breathe. It sounds simple, too simple. Maybe, but hidden in that one conscious act lies a powerful truth. Your breath is the remote control to your mind. In Stoic philosophy, we are taught to master the internal before being mastered by the external. And one of the most direct ways to do that is through the breath. Because when you control your breathing, you begin to control your state, your focus, your energy, your emotions, and your presence. And in a world that constantly tries to hijack your attention and rush your reactions, there is nothing more stoic or more powerful than beginning your day with intentional breathing. The first breath of the day matters. When you wake up, your mind is still soft, still molding itself into the shape of the day ahead. Your nervous system hasn't yet been pulled into action. Your emotions haven't yet been triggered. This moment is a rare opportunity, a clean slate. And how you breathe during these first few minutes can either ignite stress or activate calm. That's why deep, conscious breathing first thing in the morning isn't just a wellness trend, it's a mental strategy. It slows your heart rate. It grounds your awareness. It clears the fog from your thinking. And it sends a signal to your body that you are safe, steady, and centered. The science behind the calm. Modern neuroscience and ancient philosophy agree. Your breath is more than just air. It's a direct link between the body and the mind. When you breathe deeply and slowly, your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest state, is activated. Cortisol levels, the stress hormone, begin to drop. You gain greater control over your heart rate, blood pressure, and even decision-making. Focus increases, anxiety decreases, mental clarity rises. Even 2 minutes of slow, mindful breathing can make a noticeable difference. That's all it takes to shift your internal state from scattered to centered. A simple morning breathing ritual. You don't need candles, music, or a meditation app. You just need presence. Try this as part of your morning routine. 1. Sit up straight on the edge of your bed or on a chair. 2. Close your eyes and bring your attention to your breath. 3. Inhale deeply through your nose for a count of 4. 4. Hold that breath gently at the top for 2. 5. Exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. 6. Pause briefly. Then repeat. Do this for 10 rounds. That's it. In just 2 to 3 minutes, you will have created a state of inner steadiness that many people never experience all day. This is your emotional anchor. Your way of saying, before I meet the world, I meet myself. Breath as a stoic shield. The Stoics were not emotionless, they were emotionally sovereign. They understood that external events cannot disturb you unless you allow them to. And what determines your response? Your state of mind. And your breath is the gatekeeper of that state. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." What he meant was, we often spiral not because of what happens, but because of how our untrained mind reacts. A deep breath creates a pause between stimulus and response. Someone criticizes you? Pause and breathe. Stress arises before a big meeting? Pause and breathe. You feel overwhelmed by your to-do list? Pause and breathe. Each breath becomes a tool of Stoic resistance to chaos, to overreaction, to fear. Breathing brings you back to the present. When your mind races into the future, or clings to the past, your breath is what brings you home. Back to now. Back to you. Each inhale is a return to the present moment. Each exhale is a release of what no longer serves you. And this is where true clarity lives, not in the next task or the next goal, but in right here, where you are still, aware, and whole. This is the type of presence that Stoic leaders carried into their day. They didn't rush blindly, they walked with intention. And their breath was their guide. How breath affects focus and performance. You don't just breathe to relax, you breathe to perform better. Whether you're an athlete, an artist, an entrepreneur, or simply trying to live with more purpose, your ability to focus is everything. But focus isn't something you force. It's something you cultivate through stillness, rhythm, and internal balance. Your breath does all of that. Start your day by aligning your breath, and you'll think more clearly, react more wisely, work more deliberately, speak more mindfully, live more intentionally, reset any time during the day. Here's the beauty of mastering your breath. It's not just for the morning. Once you've practiced it regularly, it becomes your reset button for the rest of the day. Running late? Breathe. Someone triggers you? Breathe. Feeling scattered? Breathe. One deep breath is enough to pause the pattern and give yourself the gift of choice again. Begin within. The Stoics taught us that the mind is our most powerful tool, and that we must master it daily. Controlling your breath isn't about becoming zen or mystical. It's about building emotional awareness, mental clarity, and inner readiness. Before you try to control your schedule, your inbox, or the people around you, control your breath. Because when your breathing is calm, your mind follows. And when your mind is clear, you are unstoppable. So tomorrow morning, as you rise, don't rush. Sit, breathe, feel the air fill your lungs. Let the day come to you, not the other way around. This is how you begin from within. This is how you practice power without force. This is how you meet the day as a Stoic should, steady, present, and fully alive. 5. Do something physical. You don't need to run a marathon. You don't need to lift heavy weights or break a sweat until exhaustion. You only need one thing: to move. Because movement is not just physical. It's mental, emotional, foundational. And how you treat your body in the morning sets the rhythm for how you carry your mind for the rest of the day. Motion activates momentum. When you move your body, even for a few minutes, you awaken something primal inside you: life. Blood flows faster. Oxygen rushes to your brain. Endorphins elevate your mood. Fatigue is replaced with vitality. And more than that, movement reminds you, I am alive. I am in control. I am capable. Instead of dragging yourself into the day with stiffness and fog, you launch yourself with clarity and energy. Whether it's stretching, walking, yoga, jumping jacks, or a few push-ups, physical activity breaks mental inertia. And momentum, once created, is easier to keep. The mind-body connection. The Stoics understood that the body and the mind are not separate, they are mirrors of each other. How you discipline one reflects in the other. If your body is lethargic, your mind follows. If your body is alert, your thoughts become sharper. Seneca once said, "It is necessary to care for the body, not as if it were a thing to be loved, but because neglect of it hinders the soul." In other words, neglecting your physical self limits your potential. A sharp mind lives in an active body. A resilient spirit requires a prepared vessel. A disciplined thinker begins by commanding the body, even in small ways. Discipline builds from the outside in. You don't have to enjoy morning movement. You simply need to respect what it builds. The discipline to show up when it's uncomfortable. The inner dialogue that says, "I said I would, so I will." The self-trust that forms from keeping a promise to yourself, even in silence. This is not about exercise, it's about execution. About honoring your word through motion. Even 5 minutes of consistent morning movement builds inner credibility. And credibility is fuel for confidence. Because when your body moves, your self-respect follows. Keep it simple. Keep it sustainable. You don't need a gym membership. You don't need a perfect plan. What you need is consistency. Here's what that might look like. A 5-minute walk outside. A few rounds of sun salutations or bodyweight squats. A dance to your favorite music. Light stretching while breathing deeply. A short mobility or core routine in your living room. What matters most is not what you do, but that you do it. Daily, intentionally, and with presence. Why morning movement matters most. Starting your day with physical activity signals to your brain that it's time to switch on. You go from stillness to strength, from rest to readiness, from sleep to stoic presence. This transition is powerful. Because if the first thing you do each day is overcome physical resistance, you build emotional and mental resilience by default. You say to the world, "I don't wait to feel ready. I create readiness through action." From sluggish to sharpened. Have you ever noticed how physical stillness often invites mental fog? You sit for too long, and suddenly motivation disappears, focus fades, the mind starts spiraling. Movement breaks that pattern. It grounds you in the present. It releases stagnant energy. It brings your attention back to your body, and back to now. And when your body is anchored in the present moment, your mind follows. This is why the Stoics placed so much emphasis on embodied awareness. They knew that philosophy wasn't meant to be read, it was meant to be lived. And living requires action. Build a foundation of resilience. By making physical activity part of your morning, you train two essential Stoic traits. 1. Fortitude, the ability to do what must be done, even when you don't feel like it. 2. Temperance, the ability to act in balance, with restraint and discipline. These virtues aren't developed in crisis. They're developed in the quiet, daily choices you make when no one is watching, like getting up, moving your body, and choosing discomfort over ease. And over time, these choices build something rare: resilience that doesn't need motivation. You become someone who shows up, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, consistently. The spirit you cultivate through movement. Movement isn't just about muscles. It's about mastery. Mastery over laziness, over excuses, over emotional resistance. Every push-up, every step, every stretch is a quiet act of alignment, reminding your body and your mind that you are not ruled by inertia or fear. You are ruled by choice. And choice is where your personal power lives. A morning commitment. So tomorrow, before the world distracts you, move. Before you negotiate with yourself, move. Before you try to conquer your schedule, move. Let your body become your ally. Let your motion become your ritual. Let your discipline begin not in your thoughts, but in your actions. Because a body in motion builds a mind in control. 6. Make your environment reflect your mind. We often think of our surroundings and our mind as two separate things, one external, one internal. But the truth is, they are intimately connected. Your environment doesn't just reflect your mental state, it shapes it. The clutter you see isn't just physical. It becomes emotional weight. The mess you ignore isn't just in your room, it's in your thoughts. That's why one of the most underrated but deeply powerful morning habits is this. Create external order to cultivate internal clarity. The space around you becomes the space within you. Imagine waking up and walking into a room where everything is chaotic. Clothes on the floor, dishes in the sink, papers scattered across the desk. Your subconscious picks up every detail, even if you're not fully aware of it. And without even realizing it, you've already told your mind. This is a day of disorder, of distraction, of delay. Now imagine the opposite. You wake up, your bed is neatly made. Surfaces are clear, the floor is clean, your space invites stillness, not stress. That quiet sense of control and calm becomes the emotional tone of your day. The Stoics would call this environmental mastery. And it begins with a simple principle. Your surroundings should serve your mind, not sabotage it. Small actions, big effects. The power of a made bed. It sounds trivial, making your bed. But this one action at the start of your day is symbolic. It represents completion, intention, discipline, respect for your space, your body, and your mind. When you take 30 seconds to make your bed, you're telling yourself, I begin the day by bringing order to my world. And that order ripples forward. You're more likely to keep things tidy, to focus longer, to approach tasks with clarity, and perhaps most importantly, to feel mentally lighter, because there's no background chaos whispering that things are undone. As Naval Ravikant said, your surroundings are the temple in which you train your mind. Declutter your space. Declutter your thoughts. It's hard to think clearly in a room full of noise. It's hard to plan your day when you can't find your keys, your journal, or a clean surface to work on. It's hard to feel in control when everything around you feels like it's collapsing inward. That's not weakness, that's biology. The brain processes clutter as incomplete tasks. Each item out of place becomes a small mental burden. Too many of them, and your cognitive load increases. You feel overwhelmed, distracted, and fatigued before you've done anything meaningful. The solution? Create a space that supports your peace, not steals it. This doesn't mean you have to become a minimalist monk. It simply means that your environment should align with your intention. Morning Reset Ritual. A Stoic practice of order. Here's how to build a simple morning ritual that brings your environment in line with your mind. 1. Make your bed. Neat, clean, simple. This is your first win of the day. 2. Clear your surfaces. Tidy your desk or workspace. Remove items that don't belong. Wipe it down. A clean surface invites clear thought. 3. Organize one thing. A drawer, a shelf, a pile. One small act of order builds momentum. 4. Open your windows or blinds. Let light in, fresh air, nature's rhythm. These small touches ground your nervous system and bring presence. 5. Lightly sweep or vacuum if needed. This takes less than 5 minutes and creates immediate emotional relief. This isn't about being a perfectionist. It's about being intentional. And intention is what the Stoics prized most. Why Stoics valued simplicity and structure. The ancient Stoics weren't interested in luxury. They lived by a different kind of wealth, clarity, discipline, and calm. They believed in removing excess, not just from the mind, but from the physical world as well. Epictetus lived in simplicity, owning very little. Marcus Aurelius, despite being an emperor, reflected often on reducing unnecessary distractions. Seneca wrote about aligning the outer life with the inner one. Their message? A chaotic environment leads to a chaotic mind. A clear space reflects and reinforces a clear purpose. This is why we tidy, not for aesthetics, but for alignment. Build an environment that supports who you want to be. Ask yourself, does my space reflect clarity or confusion? Does it energize me or drain me? Is this a place where my best thoughts can rise? Your environment can either anchor you or agitate you. And the choice is yours. A Stoic morning begins not just in the mind, but in the room you wake up in, because a space of order creates a spirit of readiness. Even when the world outside is unpredictable, your space becomes a sanctuary, a quiet reminder that you are in control of how you respond, how you live, and how you begin. Clarity leads to clarity. The more you practice environmental order, the easier it becomes to think clearly. The clearer you think, the more likely you are to maintain discipline. The more disciplined you are, the more likely you are to protect your space. It becomes a loop of self-respect. And it starts with one simple question each morning. What can I bring into order right now, before the day begins? The answer doesn't need to be big. It just needs to be consistent. Because big changes come from small patterns. And order, both mental and physical, is a pattern worth mastering. Make your space sacred. Your room, your desk, your corner of the world. This is where you meet yourself each morning. Let it reflect who you are becoming. Let it invite stillness and strength. Let it support the kind of day and life you are committed to building. When you treat your space with intention, you're not just organizing items. You're organizing your energy. You're protecting your peace. You're telling the world, and yourself, I am ready. 7. Delay pleasure. Embrace discomfort. The moment you wake up, your brain craves comfort. It wants warmth, softness, ease. It whispers, snooze the alarm, check your phone, scroll a little, grab something sweet, take it slow. And yet, those first choices, those small indulgences, can quietly set the tone for a soft, distracted, and reactionary day. But what if you chose differently? What if, instead of reaching for immediate comfort, you chose controlled discomfort, deliberately? What if you trained your mind to say, not yet, when the world tempts you to say, right now? This is the essence of this Stoic morning principle. Delay pleasure. Embrace discomfort. Master your impulses, before they master you. The hidden power of morning resistance. In the first hour of your day, you're teaching your brain how you live. If your first action is indulgence, scrolling, snacking, escaping, you wire yourself to chase ease all day long. But if your first action is resistance, discipline, patience, intention, you program yourself for mental resilience. Every morning becomes a test, and your responses form the internal habits that shape how you face everything else. Can you resist the urge to check your phone? Can you choose water over sugar? Can you prioritize movement over comfort? Can you start with stillness instead of distraction? These are not small decisions. They are identity-shaping choices. Why the Stoics practiced discomfort. The Stoics weren't interested in pleasure for pleasure's sake. They believed true strength came from detachment, not from having nothing, but from needing nothing. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." To train this detachment, Stoics often practiced voluntary discomfort. Sleeping on the floor instead of a bed. Fasting even when food was available. Wearing simple clothes. Exposing themselves to cold water or hard labor. These acts weren't for show. They were preparation. They reminded the soul that it could endure, that it didn't need constant comfort to function. That power comes not from luxury, but from restraint. In the modern world, the same principle applies, especially in the morning. Skip the soft starts. One of the most dangerous forms of pleasure is digital distraction. The moment you check your phone, before even leaving your bed, you hand over your mind to the world. You become a consumer of content, rather than a creator of your own momentum. Avoiding this may feel uncomfortable, but that's exactly why it's powerful. Every act of resistance builds strength. Resisting social media builds focus. Delaying coffee trains patience. Avoiding sweets reinforces self-control. Finishing your cold shower hardens your will. These are not punishments, they are practices. Practices that teach you, I do not need ease to act. I do not need comfort to function. Discomfort is not the enemy. Most people live in fear of discomfort. They avoid silence because it feels awkward. They avoid hunger because it feels unpleasant. They avoid effort because it feels hard. They avoid discipline because it feels unnatural. But here's the paradox: the more you avoid discomfort, the weaker you become. And the weaker you are, the more discomfort controls your life. The Stoics flipped this script. They welcomed discomfort, small, controlled, intentional challenges, as a way to inoculate the mind. If you can do what's difficult early in the morning, the rest of the day feels manageable. You're not thrown off by stress. You're not derailed by resistance. Because you've already chosen discomfort on your own terms. The power of delayed gratification. When you delay pleasure, you're not denying joy, you're amplifying it. You're telling yourself, I am the one who decides when I indulge, how I indulge, and whether this indulgence serves me. This shift in mindset builds what psychology calls self-regulation, the ability to pause, evaluate, and choose long-term gain over short-term comfort. And in a culture ruled by instant gratification, this makes you rare. Whether it's holding off on your phone until after journaling, waiting to eat until after your workout, skipping caffeine until you've hydrated, choosing work before reward. Each moment of delay rewires your brain for discipline. And discipline creates freedom. Make it a daily practice. Here's how you can begin training this in your mornings. 1. Start with one small resistance. Delay phone use for 30 minutes. Do 10 push-ups before breakfast. Take a cold shower. Skip your favorite snack until after your hardest task. 2. Observe how it feels. Don't run from the discomfort. Get curious about it. Notice the mental negotiation. Watch how your ego pleads for ease. Then calmly say, "Not yet." 3. Acknowledge the win. You didn't just delay pleasure, you reclaimed control. And if you do this day after day, your mind becomes stronger than your moods. Your choices become sharper than your cravings. You stop living by impulse and start living by principle. Discomfort first, mastery later. This is the real gift of embracing early discomfort. It creates space for mastery later. You gain sharper focus, greater self-control, higher tolerance for challenge, confidence that's earned, not imagined. And with time, you begin to trust yourself more. You stop fearing hard things. You stop fleeing from the edge of your ability. You meet discomfort like a Stoic, with calm, composure, and quiet strength. Pleasure is not the problem. Craving it without limits is. Discomfort is not the enemy. Avoiding it at all costs is. And your morning, those first few precious minutes, is your training ground. Each time you choose discipline over ease, each time you say, "not yet," to comfort, you're not depriving yourself, you're developing yourself. Blank. Underscore, blank. So tomorrow morning, when the bed feels too warm, when your phone is within reach, when breakfast calls early, when motivation is low, pause. And remember, the Stoic doesn't ask for an easy morning. The Stoic asks for the strength to rise through challenge. Delay the pleasure, embrace the discomfort, and step into your day like a warrior of discipline, calm, centered, and fully in control. 8. Write down your targets for the day. Your mind is like a compass, powerful, capable, full of potential, but without a clear destination, even the best compass is useless. That's why every successful day, every productive, focused, meaningful day, begins with a simple, timeless act. Writing down your targets. This isn't just a to-do list. It's a declaration of direction. Because if you don't define where your energy should go, the world will decide for you. Distractions will multiply. Urgency will override intention. And your time, your most limited resource, will be spent, not invested. But when you pause, reflect, and write down 1 to 3 key targets, you turn your day into a mission. You move from wandering to working with purpose. The power of focused intention. Stoic wisdom teaches us that clarity of purpose is one of the highest virtues. Marcus Aurelius began his days reminding himself not of everything he could do, but of what he must do, what aligned with his nature, his duty, and his values. He didn't try to do everything. He chose what mattered. You must do the same. Because in the noise of modern life, focus is rare, and rare things are powerful. When you take just 5 minutes each morning to write down your most important goals, you prime your brain for conscious action. Eliminate reactive behavior. Reduce decision fatigue. Keep your energy aligned with what truly moves the needle. You stop living by chance and start living by choice. Why writing matters more than thinking. You might think, I already know what I have to do today. But knowing isn't enough. Writing creates structure. Writing builds accountability. Writing transforms vague thoughts into tangible priorities. When you write, you're thinking with your hands. You're externalizing what matters most. You're creating a contract with yourself, not just in theory, but in action. This physical act signals to your brain, "These are my non-negotiables. This is what I stand for today." And that clarity becomes energy. Choose 1 to 3 meaningful targets. The key is not to list everything. The goal is focus, not volume. Choose only 1 to 3 high-impact targets, the tasks or actions that, if completed, will move your day forward with meaning and momentum. Ask yourself, what is one thing I could complete today that would make me feel fulfilled? What task supports my long-term growth, not just short-term gratification? What matters more than everything else on my plate? You might write. Finish draft of Chapter 3. Call and resolve client issue. Spend 30 distraction-free minutes studying philosophy. Work out and journal by 10 a.m. These aren't just tasks, they're commitments to clarity. Target setting trains the mind for depth. Each morning you practice this habit. You're training your brain to think strategically, not reactively. Instead of being pulled by emotion, impulse, or outside pressure, you're anchoring yourself to intention. This aligns with a core Stoic principle: control what is within your power. You may not control the noise of the day, but you can control what you bring focus to. You can say, "This is my target. I will protect it. I will not dilute my effort." And that mindset builds more than productivity. It builds self-respect. Prioritize long-term value over short-term distractions. Many people confuse busy work with meaningful work. They answer emails, attend meetings, jump between apps, but accomplish nothing of real value. Stoicism reminds us to focus on what's essential. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." When you set daily targets, ask, "Does this move me closer to my long-term goals? Does this serve my purpose, or simply satisfy my ego or urgency?" Clear goals are like a lighthouse. They guide you through the fog of distraction and show you the way forward, no matter how busy the world around you becomes. A simple morning target-setting ritual. Here's a 5-minute routine to help you turn this into a habit. 1. Grab a notebook or journal. Keep it by your bedside or at your workspace. 2. Write the date and a simple prompt. Oh, what matters most today? Oh, where should I direct my energy? 3. List your 1 to 3 targets. Be specific, realistic, and intentional. 4. Underline or star your top priority. This is your must-win task, the one that should be done even if everything else fails. 5. Optional. Visualize success. Picture yourself completing your top task with clarity, calm, and confidence. This visualization sharpens motivation. Repeat this every morning. The ritual is small, but the result is massive. What if you don't hit your targets? That's okay. The point isn't perfection. The point is direction. Even if you miss 1 or 2 targets, the mere act of identifying them keeps your mind on what matters. It trains your focus. It strengthens your internal compass. And over time, it builds consistency, a trait far more valuable than scattered ambition. Remember, a single clear target beats 100 vague intentions. From wandering to walking a path. When you write down your targets, you're not just organizing your day, you're building your life, one deliberate step at a time. You become someone who doesn't wait for clarity. You create it. You don't hope for discipline. You design it. You don't react to life. You lead it. This is what it means to live like a Stoic, to rise with purpose, act with clarity, and pursue what truly matters, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. If you do nothing else in your morning routine, if you skip the workouts, the breathing, the reading, don't skip this. Write down what matters. Declare your direction. Own your day. Because a mind without a target is like a ship without a rudder, lost, tossed, and aimless. But a mind with a target? That's a weapon. That's a compass. That's a tool of transformation. So grab your pen, take 5 minutes, ask yourself, what will I aim at today? Then write it down, protect it, pursue it. Because clear targets lead to clear days, and clear days lead to a focused, fulfilled life. 9. Speak less, move more. In a world full of noise, silence is a superpower. The moment we wake up, we're tempted to speak, share, explain, post, vent, and narrate. The modern morning often begins not in stillness but in talking. Whether it's verbalizing frustrations, narrating your to-do list out loud, or posting first thoughts on social media, the urge to express immediately is strong. But here's the Stoic truth. Words without direction dilute your energy. And in the early hours of the day, when your mind is fresh and your spirit still grounded, the last thing you want to do is leak that energy through unnecessary speech. The principle is simple and powerful. Speak less, move more. Energy flows where attention goes. Every word you speak requires mental effort. Every conversation, especially those without purpose, pulls your mind away from its center. That's why beginning your morning in silence isn't about being cold or antisocial. It's about preserving your focus. Do you really need to vent before 8 a.m.? Does talking about yesterday's problems solve them today? Is your first urge to explain, or to act? Stoicism teaches us that inner strength is reflected in restraint, and the most focused individuals often speak the least, not because they lack thoughts, but because they respect their thoughts. Why morning silence builds power. In the morning, your mind is still waking up. It's shifting from the dream state into the conscious world. It's tender, malleable, and incredibly sensitive to stimulus. And speech, especially emotional or dramatic speech, disrupts that delicate calibration. But when you preserve your words, when you begin with a quiet presence, You allow your thoughts to form instead of leak. You invite your intentions to mature before exposing them to interpretation or commentary. This is where true internal power begins, not in announcing your plans, but in quietly preparing to execute them. Words are commitments, use them wisely. The Stoics were masters of restraint. They didn't speak to impress. They spoke to impact, and they only spoke once their thoughts were aligned with their values. Epictetus advised, "Let silence be your goal for the most part. Say only what is necessary, and in few words." When you speak unnecessarily, especially early in the day, you risk diluting your focus, externalizing problems that need inward reflection, entering reactive conversations that distort your purpose. But when you stay silent, even briefly, you build something most people never develop: containment. Containment is the ability to hold your thoughts without needing to release them right away. It's emotional maturity. It's strength. Talk is cheap, action is everything. Modern life rewards performance, but Stoic life rewards action. You don't need to post that you're waking up at 5 a.m. You don't need to announce that you're working on your goals. You don't need to explain why you're trying something new. You just need to do the thing. Because action proves what speech only promises. Every time you choose movement over words, working instead of complaining, building instead of just dreaming, you reinforce one of the core truths of self-mastery. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. In fact, the most powerful people often speak last, or not at all. Speak less equals react less. There's another benefit to morning silence. It protects you from unnecessary emotional reactions. How many times have you said something in the morning that you later regretted? A complaint that set the tone for the whole day. A disagreement that didn't really matter. A random vent that amplified stress instead of reducing it. By practicing verbal restraint, you create a natural pause between thought and reaction. You give your mind time to choose a better response. This is Stoicism in motion. You stop being pulled by emotion and start responding from calm, centered awareness. Create a morning of quiet intensity. Imagine this. You wake up. You don't say a word. You move, you reflect, you breathe, you act. You set your targets, you read something meaningful. You let your thoughts settle before inviting in the noise of others. This is a quiet intensity that most people never experience. And yet, it's one of the most powerful emotional states you can access. Your silence isn't emptiness. It's fullness without leakage. It's focused. It's sovereign. It's unshakable. Avoid the false voice of digital expression. Today, speaking isn't limited to verbal conversation. Your first words might come in the form of a text, a tweet, a comment, a story, a rant. But no matter the platform, the principle remains. Avoid broadcasting your energy before you've fully owned it. Let your internal engine warm up before revving it on social media. Let your mind choose its course before sharing it publicly. Let your spirit settle before it speaks. Because when your first instinct is to post instead of to pause, you give away power you haven't even gathered yet. A morning practice of movement over words. Here's how to implement this principle. 1. Begin your day in silence. No speaking, texting, or writing for at least 20 to 30 minutes. 2. Use movement as your language. Make the bed, stretch, hydrate, go for a short walk. Let your body lead while your mind aligns. 3. Delay communication until you've grounded yourself. Only engage in conversation once you've reflected, breathed, and centered your state. 4. If you must speak, speak softly and intentionally. Avoid complaining, explaining, or venting early on. Let words serve your focus, not fragment it. Be the person who moves first, then speaks. In every room, there are people who speak quickly, and those who act quietly. Be the second kind. Let your actions introduce you. Let your discipline speak for you. Let your results do the talking. In a world that idolizes attention, your silence becomes your edge. It signals depth, focus, restraint, and unmistakable power. Your first words carry weight. They set the emotional current of your day. So why waste them? Why begin with noise, when you can begin with presence? Every moment you delay speech is a moment you invest in control. Every urge you resist to explain is energy reclaimed. Every action taken without fanfare is a step toward inner mastery. So tomorrow, when you rise, don't speak immediately. Breathe, move, ground yourself, then speak, if needed, and only speak what's worth saying. Because the Stoic doesn't lead with words. The Stoic leads with will. 10. Align with nature's rhythm. We often forget that we are part of nature. Not just observers of it, not masters of it, but extensions of it, interwoven into the same cycles, governed by the same laws, dependent on the same balance. And yet, in our modern, concrete world of alarms, screens, and rush-hour urgency, we've severed ourselves from the very rhythm that once gave us peace, the rhythm of nature. To live well, especially to begin your day well, you must remember this. Nature is your original teacher. It is patient, calm, resilient, accepting, and deeply alive. And it offers its wisdom for free, if you're present enough to listen. That's why one of the most powerful morning habits isn't something you buy, download, or measure. It's this. Align with nature's rhythm. Begin with observation. Step outside. Stand on your balcony, open a window, walk barefoot through grass or sit quietly beside a tree. And observe. Notice the softness of the morning light, the stillness of the air, the rustling of leaves, the song of birds greeting the day, the way everything awakens gently. Not with noise, but with rhythm. You don't have to analyze it. You don't have to document it. You don't even need to understand it. Just be with it. Because this is the rhythm you were designed to mirror, not chaotic. But centered, not rushed. But deliberate, not reactive, but attuned. Nature slows you down to speed you up. In the modern world, mornings often begin with urgency. Everything is fast, everything is loud, everything feels like it's already late. But when you align with nature, you remember something deeper. You are not behind, you are becoming. The sun doesn't panic as it rises. The trees don't chase each other to bloom. The birds don't check the clock before singing. Everything moves according to its own timing, its own season, its own wisdom. When you allow yourself to begin your day in sync with this rhythm, you ground yourself in the truth of flow, not force. And that shift changes everything. What the Stoics learned from nature. The Stoics constantly referred to nature, not just as a backdrop, but as a guide. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to observe the natural world daily. He saw in its cycles the reflection of divine order, acceptance, and peace. He wrote, "Adapt yourself to the life you have been given, and truly love the people with whom destiny has surrounded you." To adapt to life is to adapt to nature, to move with it, not against it. Epictetus taught that we should focus only on what is within our control. Nature embodies this perfectly. It doesn't resist what it cannot change. It responds, adjusts, and evolves. And Seneca, perhaps most poetically, saw in the rhythm of nature a reflection of the brevity of life and the beauty of each moment. Stillness is not laziness, it's mastery. We live in a culture that rewards non-stop movement. More tasks, more hustle, more output. But nature reminds us that stillness is not stagnation. It is preparation, integration, power without noise. A seed appears motionless as it grows roots. A tree stands still, but it feeds life. The moon changes without effort. The waves flow without urgency. Nature masters the art of doing without striving. When you align with this energy in the morning, you give yourself permission to be focused, yet gentle, driven, yet grounded, awake, but not overwhelmed. A practice of presence. Here's a simple way to connect with nature's rhythm each morning. 1. Step outside or near a window. Let fresh air touch your skin. Feel the elements. 2. Stay silent. Breathe. Listen. No distractions. No headphones. Just you and the natural world. 3. Choose a focal point. A tree, a flower, a cloud. Watch it without needing to interpret it. Notice how it simply exists, fully, freely. 4. Match your breath to the environment. Inhale with the wind, exhale with the stillness. Allow your internal rhythm to mirror the outer one. 5. Close with one question. How can I carry this peace into the rest of my day? Even 5 minutes of this practice will shift your internal state. You'll feel less fragmented, less reactive, and more attuned to the present moment. Syncing with cycles. Nature doesn't just exist, it moves in cycles. Morning gives way to afternoon. Light fades into darkness. Seasons change with grace, not complaint. When you begin to observe these cycles daily, you develop patience, understanding that growth takes time. Acceptance, trusting that every phase serves a purpose. Timing, knowing when to act, and when to be still. And you'll find that the more you honor nature's rhythm, the more you align with your own. Your productivity becomes sustainable. Your energy becomes steady. Your emotions become manageable. This is not mysticism, this is human design. You are nature, not separate from it. When you disconnect from nature, you disconnect from yourself. No app, no caffeine, no affirmation can replace the clarity that comes from remembering. I am part of something bigger. I am a rhythm, not a machine. I am a process, not a performance. Reconnecting with nature each morning reminds you that you don't have to rush to be worthy. You don't have to force what is meant to unfold. You don't have to fear stillness, it's part of creation. This is the ancient way, the Stoic way, the way of presence, poise, and power. Each morning, nature is already doing its work. The sun is rising, the wind is moving, the earth is spinning, quietly, consistently, without drama. Let that be your model. Begin your day not with frenzy, but with flow. Not with pressure, but with presence. Not with control, but with connection. Align with nature's rhythm, and you align with your truest self. Because when you start your day in sync with the earth, you move through the world not just more peacefully, but more powerfully. You've just discovered 10 powerful habits, each grounded in timeless Stoic wisdom. Each designed to reclaim your mornings and redirect your life with clarity, discipline, and purpose. But here's the truth. This isn't just a routine, it's a philosophy. Because how you start your morning is more than a habit. It's a statement of who you are becoming. It's in that first breath of awareness before the world wakes up. It's in the choice to move your body, rather than scroll. It's in the courage to reflect before you consume, to delay pleasure, to embrace discomfort, and to act with quiet strength before you say a single word. These 10 habits are simple, but they're not easy. They require consistency, they demand intention, and most of all, they call you back to yourself, before the noise, before the pressure, before the day tries to define you. Wake up early, not just to rise, but to lead. Reflect before you consume, to center your mind before the world can clutter it. Read something grounding, to anchor your spirit in wisdom. Control your breath, to enter the day with calm. Move your body, to activate your power. Create order around you, to mirror the clarity within you. Delay comfort, to sharpen your strength. Set your targets, to move with precision, not aimless motion. Speak less, to protect your energy and preserve your presence. Align with nature, to live in flow, not force. If even one of these becomes a ritual in your life, you'll feel the shift. But when you bring all 10 together, you won't just change your mornings, you'll transform your entire way of living. Because the Stoic doesn't chase the world. The Stoic builds the world, one thought, one breath, one action at a time. If this video inspired you, Don't keep it to yourself. Like this video if you're ready to own your mornings and live more intentionally. Comment below. Which habit speaks to you the most? Which one will you begin tomorrow? Share this with someone who needs more clarity and calm in their day. And most importantly, subscribe to our channel for more ancient wisdom, modern clarity, and practical tools to build the life you were meant to live. Let's make the first hour of the day sacred again. Start strong, stay grounded, lead with purpose. Your transformation doesn't begin next year, next month, or even next week. It begins tomorrow morning. And it begins with you.